Welcome to this special, I guess, live episode of Nobody Drives in LA, a podcast all about the perils, pleasures, and misadventures of getting around the great city of Los Angeles without a car. Today we're at LA Comic-Con, obviously, and we're going to be talking about LA transit in pop culture and all of the ways and times and our opinions on the ways our beloved metro, our beloved bikes, and all of that has shown up in books, movies, TV, video games, any and all. This is a pretty intimate room, so if y'all have any questions or things you want us to talk about as we're going, shout your questions at us and we'll field them as we go. I think that'll be a fun curveball. When we're planning out this panel, I wanted to open with sort of a comforting image, which maybe you can see from my laptop here, but it is a shot of John Carpenter's movie Escape from LA, where the 405 is getting obliterated in an earthquake, and I think that is something that all of us Yimbys would just love to see one day. It's really the future I want to manifest without those highways. So like we always do on the podcast, Eric and Rogelio. We also have a fourth panelist who is making her way here now. She's going to have her own adventure getting up here. Ivy will be here in a little bit, but why don't we kick it off by saying who you are and how did you get here? Rogelio, do you want to start?
Sure. Hey, folks. My name is Rogelio Pardo. I'm a transportation planner by trade and still work in the transportation planning and engineering industry. How did I get here? Well, Kyle invited me, first of all. I'm born and raised in LA. Had road rage sometime around 18, 20 years old, and all it took was a short trip to Europe during a travel study where it was like, oh, wow, people can ride buses, or I could ride a bike as transportation, and I rode my bike recreationally, but I hadn't really thought of it. So came back, wanted to get rid of my car somehow, and then just went full tilt, learned about what urban planning was, studied, and found a way to work in the city or city adjacent over the last couple of years. And for a more literal read of that question, I got here today on my legs and trains.
All right,
Eric?
I'm Eric. I'm one of the co-hosts. I was not even thinking about how I got here in the big scheme of things, the grand scheme of things, but I got here, actually, I had a car. I called it the Cardus. Car in relative dimensions in space for the Doctor Who fans, and it died 14 years ago. And then after it died, I realized, I was like, do I replace it? Or, because I had not been driving it anyway very much. It had been towed once because I hadn't moved it for 7 months. But then I was like, I don't really need it and I don't really want it. And then I started writing for KCET about exploring without a car because they were the ones that pointed out to me that was an interesting angle in Los Angeles where most of the stuff that gets written is clearly written from a windshield perspective. And then the way I got here today, I took the 92 and then it was the E-line, right? We ended up being on the same train. You run into people that you know when you take mass transit. You hopefully don't run into people you know when you drive everywhere, because it implies different things.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
We crashed.
The insurance complications. So I'm Kyle. My car-free adventure initially came from realizing that I was just really bad at driving. I got into a bunch of accidents, and I realized, hey, I don't want this. I don't want this stress. I started riding a one-wheel, which I was just taking to school at Santa Monica College, and up to the gym where I was working out, and it snowballed into, what if I could take the Surfliner down to San Diego, and then take the MTS when I go hang out with my friends, and what if I take the Starlight up to San Francisco? And it's just become a glorious, glorious addiction of mine, and I love it. I could not think of getting around LA in a car at this point. How I got here today, you may see our videographer in the room, our pal and friend of the podcast, and also guest, Alex Denny. I've been staying with Alex, and we took he recently discovered there's a park and ride near the 17th Street SMC station. So Alex and I went down to that park and ride. It's like $3 and you could stay there for 72 hours or something crazy like that, free on the weekends. Then we hopped on the E-line and here we are today. So
Ivy?
Oh yeah, and there will be Ivy who Ivy is a transit advocate. She is a PhD student at UCLA.
And if you listen to her episode, you know that she has a pogo stick, which is why she's still not here, because it's just not a practical transit option.
Yeah.
She's trying to prove a point. She's trying to prove
Yeah.
a point.
Trying to prove a point, pogoing all the way from Alhambra.
Yeah.
But
She's been pogoing all the way from Alhambra. The title, the namesake of our podcast is Nobody Drives in LA, which is of course a bit of a pun on the Missing Persons song, Walking in LA.
bit of an inversion.
Yeah, a bit of an
Someone
inversion.
described it as provocative. I was like, what? Nobody drives in LA. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no one has ever used a car here at all.
Look ahead as we fast, giant focus on it. I won't be fooled by the cheeks in a leather check. It must have been just a cardboard kind of other man's old body. Cast it from the record stand, walking in LA. Walking in LA. Nobody walks in LA.
So for our first bit of LA pop culture, Rogelio wanted to talk about Missing Persons and the Walking in LA song. So Rogelio, do you want to send us off on that?
Sure, I'll get us started. Honestly, I almost forgot. I always forget who the band is, so I'm glad it's right there on that screen. And I was trying to think of a sassy joke about how nobody remembers them because of their bad take. Clearly, that's wrong.
Nobody
Anyway,
listens to Missing
nobody
Persons.
nobody listens to Missing Persons. That's when I knew I was like, my car brain had died. I was probably in grad school at some point. I heard that song on the radio for the first time. It's a song from, I think, the late 80s, early 90s.
I think early 80s. I
Early
could be
80s.
wrong. Yeah.
And one of the lines says, "Only nobodies walk in LA," and I was so mad, and I was like, "That's such a lie. I walk every day. People are walking on the sidewalks," and it really pissed me off for two reasons. One, because it just really reaffirms, LA as this car-centric place where, God forbid, you need to take the bus or the train. But then more importantly, it really reaffirmed the classist, racist divide in how we move around LA. If you look at the ridership at Metro, right, a big chunk of the people that rely on transit and are walking to and from transit stations are your lower income communities, often your communities of color. And so this song, really, who is this talking about, right? And it's kind of a broader microcosm that I feel of Los Angeles. It's like when we talk about LA, who are we actually speaking about? Are we talking about the people in hardworking communities that really make, communities like Elysian Valley or now Frogtown or Silver Lake or Echo Park, these, areas where people have made do with low resources and have made them into, fun places to be because of the character and have been where we see the first initial waves of gentrification as a city, and who are we actually catering to, right? And I think that's a question I always ask myself is when we're talking about LA, who are we talking about? Are we talking about all the people that move here with a hope and a dream, which we obviously welcome, but have a chip on their shoulder and maybe interact in Los Angeles in a different way, are very quick to get their expensive lease and drive down Hollywood Boulevard in their BMW? Or are we talking about the people that support that industry, that take the bus, walk, or are commuting from Riverside because they can't afford to be in LA? So, it's just did a little bit of word vomit, but I think that intersectionality of class, socioeconomic opportunity, transportation, sustainability, which I'm sure Kyle will dig into, is just really, one, why I'm in the profession that I'm in, and two, why I hope for a better transit future in Los Angeles. Is that enough, Kyle?
Yeah, that's a good. I guess talking about sustainability, and so for those of you in the room who don't know, my main job here in LA is I do sustainability on commercials, so like food donations, set dismantling, all of that. And I am always the lone weirdo who shows up to set from the bus on my bike at all weird hours of the day. Like, how did you get here, man? And I think too there's very much two different LAs that I've encountered with, right? Like the folks that I meet on bike rides, at community events, out doing beach cleanups that really care about the city and are really heavily invested in it. And then you get a lot of people on film sets that live in their own world. And of course, that's why the sustainability department is there to compost all 3,000 pounds of their food waste across a 3-day shoot and donate all their stuff. But I think there's if you look at the lyrics of this song, there's one line that's, oh, those, I won't be fooled by a cheap cinematic trick, they must be cardboard cutouts. It must have just been a cardboard cutout of a man referencing somebody walking. And that is like it's such an industry thing to say about people who live here in LA, because you really don't when you work in that kind of bizarro, I don't know, fantasy land.
Kyle, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you're on sets or on backlots, how are people moving around?
Okay, so I actually get in trouble for this quite a bit. So most often, people will walk between different studio places. Some of the bigger, right, hey, look at that. Some of the bigger lots, though, like Paramount and Universal, they're like so big and sprawling that you can't feasibly walk between the gate and where you're filming. So what I will do for that, if I have to run food donations out to a pickup driver, I'll take the one wheel, I'll take my bike, but then I get in trouble with studio security, and they'll ticket me, they'll pull me aside to security. You can't have that thing; it's a liability. But meanwhile, just earlier a day that this happened, I was driving a big Sprinter van, and I almost ran over a guy who was crossing the street. Like, I'm not going to hurt anybody on my bike apart from me. And if I'm driving that big old Sprinter van, there's serious consequences for doing that.
I heard somewhere that more people are killed by falling vending machines than bikes hitting them. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard. But no one's scared of vending machines.
Yeah. Eric, do you have any thoughts on...
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to defend the song a little bit. But partly I'll start by saying I don't like the song, but I do think that it's a bit sarcastic and meta, and it's a reflection of a trope that already existed. So I started delving into that. Also, I looked at the singer's from San Francisco, which is a city that famously and for a reason they also hate Angelinos in Los Angeles. So I think it's sort of tongue in cheek, but it's also kind of tired. It's like I grew up in Missouri, and whenever I tell people that, there's always someone that's like, "Don't you mean Missouri?" And I'm like, I don't actually know anyone from Missouri that pronounces it that way, but sure. Or it's like saying Holly weird as like a knee jerk way whenever anyone says Hollywood, like it's not clever, but. I looked it up, and I found instances of it going back, of people started to say that nobody walks in LA back in the late 50s, which makes sense because that's when we were dismantling all of our train lines and everyone was getting cars. And the earliest mention I could find of it was someone who was like a guy that made billboards along Sunset, and they were saying, why are you investing in billboards? And he was saying, like, because people in cars are like captive audiences, and I can advertise them and force them to look at these. And so he's not wrong, But then in the early '60s, I thought it was interesting because it was a self-identified conservative who hated cars and called them mechanical Jacobins, and he was mad that he got stopped by the police walking on Valley Boulevard in Alhambra because it was late at night, and then someone told him, "Oh, they must have thought you were drunk or a kook. Why would you? Nobody walks in LA." And so it really started back then, and then I was sort of becoming more pleasantly surprised, though, because there's a function that you can see on, they used to have it on Google Timeline, I don't think they do anymore, but on the newspaper archives, you can see that it doesn't show up in print as much anymore. Like, it peaked in the 80s, and then really went down when, like, Metro started, and maybe it just became tired, like, people just thought it's not something interesting it's not an interesting or fresh observation, but to the point where, like, almost, you don't hear it that much anymore, except when that song's played on Jack FM or whatever. But then, like 2 weeks ago, I had a visitor staying, and I said, let's go to the market to get something, and I just instinctively started walking towards the sidewalk, and he started instinctively walking towards his rented car, and he was like, "Oh, we're walking?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "In LA?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's still alive, it's still alive." Like, yes, it's at the end of the block, we're walking, we're not driving, although I do have neighbors that drive to the market.
So everyone, welcome our fourth panelist, Ivy.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Ivy. Sorry, I was a little bit late. I unfortunately drove today. And
That's why you're late.
That's the reason why you should not drive in LA. I'm currently finishing up my PhD at UCLA in environmental engineering, and I love transit because it's like a little environmental hobby that takes me outside of my everyday work. So excited to be here with you all today and chat.
Cool. So I guess moving on to a next topic. This was initially I just had this. I was going to show just a little clip of this as a little interstitial in between our topic points. But I wanted to bring up from the early '90s when the A line first opened up. There was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles promo that was cut for the A line opening up.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, turtle power.
Uh-oh, trouble. But fortunately,
Cowabunga, dudes!
when the new RTD Metro Blue Line opens on July 14th, it'll be the best way to get from LA to Long Beach and anywhere in between.
I think I'm in love.
I'll turn this shindig into a non-event. Oh no! What happened?
I'd say his Gloomsday device backfired.
I'll be back! So do yourself and everyone else a favor. Ride the RTD Metro Blue Line at every opportunity.
The Turtles show up. There's this weird dude in a cowboy hat who's like maniacally laughing, like, "Ah, ha, 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 I'm gonna sabotage the train," with this little I don't know, like zap gun. The Turtles are talking about how much they love it.
It looks like Hamburglar.
Yeah, he does kind of look like the Hamburglar. I don't know if you could see this dude here.
Full screen it. Taste.
Yeah. So this Hamburglar-looking guy, and apparently, like, the Turtles don't even fight him, which I was expecting some more like ninja stuff going on in this whole promo. But the dude just like disapparates into a hat, and the Turtles are dancing in front of the whole blue line. And I don't know, it's like this weird celebration too of.
Is he supposed to represent something like Big Oil or?
Oh, that's good.
Just NIMBYs? I don't know.
Yeah, just NIMBYs, I guess. Yeah, but it's like, one, I want to know, how did the Turtles get all the way from Manhattan to Los Angeles? Did they crawl through the sewers? Did they, like, how did they get here? Normally, I don't think they live where we do. But it was this, like, really fun little cheeky interlude. And also the Turtles are just wearing big old puppet suits, like high school football mascot suits, which is really fun.
Right. It doesn't look like the movie version of the Ninja Turtles. It looks like Party City costumes.
Yeah. And those, like, these little weird, Metro promos, I think are so fun.
They are charming, yeah.
There's one that's on the flip side of this too, more recently, that is, are you familiar with Super Kind? Eric originally shared this.
迷惑ボーイ。
ここはなんとかしなくちゃ。
スーパーカインドの交通機関案内。
When you ride on the bus or rail, don't eat popcorn, meat, or kale.
But Super
Bring
Kind.
Super Kind back.
Yeah, Super Kind is like this like anime hero girl who like fights these weird kaiju monsters that show up on the trains doing all kind of nasty things like eating.
She's just bad manners.
Yeah.
There were some couple of snot rags on my bus on the floor, so we could have used a Super Kind to.
I mean, also like Super Kind probably wouldn't like me because I'm always have bottles
Spilling coffee.
Yeah, spilling coffee all over myself and the seats and everywhere. I mean, I like the smell of coffee, so maybe people are like, "Oh, this is a pleasant smell on the train." But what can I say? But I love these really weird like Metro collaborations and Metro branding pieces because they are so. Like, not the kind of thing you would expect to be coming from a train. And there's, like, so much weird personality to it.
I should have asked. I don't know how it really came about, but there's a singer in Taiwan, Joanna Wong, who posted on her Instagram a song, and she was like, "This is one that I wrote for the Super Kind thing," but they were, like, not interested in it. And so I should have asked, like, what was the process? Was there a contest, or did they just reach out to certain artists and say, "You have the sensibility that we're into"?
So there we go, future episode. Let's make that happen.
She does have a song that's all about looking for parking in LA.
Oh.
And it's just that's all she wants to find is a spot.
So I guess a related note to this, which is a seg into Ivy's section, which is a discussion about collaborations between celebrities and the LA Metro. So Ivy, do you want to take us away for this part?
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to go chronologically, but also kind of geographically, and start with the Pico station that's right near where we are. And I promise you all, whenever I usually come to the convention center, that's where I usually get off. I usually take the train here.
That's where we got off.
Yeah, yay, nice. So aside from today, because I was going from my parents' place to here and then back to the west where I'm from. But anyways, so the Pico station was actually renamed a couple of times in basketball history. So in April of 2016, in honor of Kobe Bryant's last game in his NBA career, they actually renamed the Pico station to Kobe Station, which was really cool. And then they did that again in February of last year. When they unveiled the statue to commemorate him, they also renamed the station to his name that day, which was really awesome. And then also backtracking a little bit, in October of 2018, they also renamed the same station to the LeBron station, or like the Nike LeBron station, because that's when we welcomed LeBron to the Lakers. So very cool way to commemorate a lot of these amazing stars in basketball history. And then transitioning to, I think, something that we might have talked about earlier, and that was on like the flyer for this panel, talking about Taylor Swift, especially since she recently got engaged, and that's like big in pop culture right now. As you know, 2 years ago in 2023, she had her huge Eras tour, and she did 6 nights in LA. So you can imagine if you're trying to get that many people to SoFi Stadium multiple nights in a row, it could be a huge nightmare. So luckily, Metro jumped in and kind of created a lot more accessible ways for people to get to the stadium. They also renamed the Hawthorne and Lenox station to the Taylor Nation station, and I went there purposely, detoured myself just so I could go to the station to take a picture. And then they also renamed the downtown Inglewood station to the Speak Now Taylor station. So that was cool, and statistically, to look at some of the ridership data, pretty cool because they had 150,000 additional boardings on Metro Rail that week when all of this was happening. A combination of, that was like for the rail, but then also an additional 30,000 transfers from buses and special shuttles for these events, bringing the total to about 180,000 more than the daily average. So that's super awesome. And hopefully raise some sort of awareness so that the concert goers hopefully take this transit experience into their daily lives after the concert. And then something that happened this past year, but also is, I think, like a recurring thing, is every June for Pride Month, they rename the Hollywood Highland Station to the LA Pride Nation Station, and then the Hollywood Vine Station to the Hollywood Pride Station. So that's super cool, and hopefully it's something that they keep on doing year after year. And then the last thing I'll talk about in terms of station renaming is last month, I believe, it was at the Hyde Park Station where they recently renamed it to the Nipsey Hussle Station. So Nipsey Hussle was a very influential rapper, entrepreneur, and activist who was sadly shot a couple years ago, and in honor of his would-be 40th birthday, they renamed that station to his name in honor to kind of carry on his legacy. And one thing that was really interesting that his parents, his family talked about was Metro was really essential to his early music career because it helped him get around from different places, from South Central to Watts, and so that he was able to access all the opportunities that grew him into the amazing artist he was that day. So very essential, and showing how transportation is very essential to people building their careers. So that's a little bit about station renaming, which I actually, when I was doing research for this, outside of what I've personally seen myself, is that Metro actually has like a thing where you can apply to change a station's name for advertisement purposes or whatever. So I didn't know that.
Just temporarily, or?
Temporarily.
Okay.
But I imagine if you pay more, it could be.
Beverly, Vermont Station, I always refer to as Jollibee Station, and people always know what I mean when I say that. If I say Beverly, Vermont, everyone's like, where is that exactly? Like, you know, the Jollibee Station? Oh, okay, yeah. It's got the cacti, and there's a Jollibee.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit more about not just station renaming, but just some more artists and some of their appearances in transit and stuff like that. So, or transit appearances in their work. So backtracking a little bit to talk about a little bit more about Taylor Swift. One of her music videos for her song Delicate was actually filmed at 7th Street Metro Center. So as we know, I guess like prior to the regional connector, that was one of the most bustling stations in LA because that connected so many different lines in the heart of downtown LA. And in this music video, she's shown at a very fancy event inside a hotel, and she's talking to, and there are a lot of people approaching her, obviously because she's such a big celebrity, but for herself, it's like a lot of pressure to kind of, be this big figure and always be perfect. And in the video, she's depicted occasionally when she's by herself, like doing things that are maybe not so celebrity-like, being more casual or like making a face, and that's like very looked down upon. But throughout the video, toward the end, she's seen kind of like dancing very freely, doing a lot of dances that, choreography that you probably wouldn't imagine a celebrity who's very elegant or whatever would be doing. But as she's doing this like free-flowing choreography, she seems like she's having a blast. And kind of conveying the idea that it's not really about perfection, but it's more about expression. And that kind of makes her really happy.
It's on one of the braided trains.
Yeah. Crazy that she's walking through the station barefoot, but
And it's so narrow, the aisles in those ones.
yeah, I'm sure they cleaned it. Yeah. But good for her. I appreciate that. But it kind of got me thinking. I was like, well, if she can so freely do this in this music video that is so fittingly set at a transit station, maybe we can take something away from it and be like, sometimes there's a lot of taboo when you show up to somewhere and you're like, I took the bus here, I took the train here. And people are like, what? Like, you're so lame, you don't have a car or whatever. But we should embrace the fact that we're doing something that's great, makes us feel so free and can go anywhere without sitting in traffic and like stress like I was earlier today, like never doing that again. And you're also doing something to help the environment and help the earth, so why not, And then the last thing I'll talk about is Tyler, the Creator, another rapper, very famous, very amazing artist, has a song called That Guy, where in one of his lyrics he refers to the carrot-colored bus. So very fitting that Kyle's wearing a bright neon orange shirt right now. But he talks about growing up and his experiences on the carrot-colored bus, which we all know he's referring to the Metro buses, which, very beautiful orange color, very iconic in LA.
Except for the rapid ones.
Yeah, the red ones, they're cool too. When he first released this song around December of 2024 or so, in the music video, Metro social media actually did like a little like meme version of it where they posted a little reel of that clip where he says the carrot-colored bus, and they like put like a bunch of pictures of the carrot-colored bus.
Carrot-colored bus, carrot-colored bus, carrot-colored bus, carrot-colored bus.
And it was really cool because he actually reposted this on his story. So that was really exciting. I'm sure that was very exciting for Metro, but he reposted on his story and captioned it 42, 212, 439, and 115. So paying homage to the lines that he probably wrote a lot growing up. And in his song, he actually mentions, he like whispers El Segundo and Prairie. So that's one of the stops on the 212 line between Hawthorne Lennox and Hollywood something, I forget, but yeah. So very cool to see all of this representation in a lot of artists' journeys.
I guess for me, this discussion about celebrities and artists using transit in their songs, in their media, it makes me think of how the way you get around influences the way you create. So recently, I'm a bit of a fledgling drummer. And I've been working on figuring out how can I get my freaking drum kit to the warehouse that I practice in Atwater Village from Santa Monica, but without a car. So what that's funneled me into doing is figuring out a portable electronic setup that I can stuff in my big old backpack that's sitting right at Alex's feet over there. And so for me, it's been this process of minimalism, figuring out how I can be compact, how I can be nimble, how I can set up my drum kit in 20 minutes when I'm going to practice. Whereas before, when I was more of a car-based musician in the Northeast, it was just, oh great, get all the crap, throw it in the car, away you go, we'll just set it up. So I think when you get around in transit and you still want to do all of the expressive things you normally want to, it makes you be a little bit more intentional, and it makes you be a little bit more I guess like resourceful with how you create. And I think too, one of my other favorite hobbies too is when I'm taking the owl buses back from productions or out to shoots, I'll do a little bit of like sketching, like musical sketching with loops on my iPad, which I'll like sometimes record a little sample of whatever lunacy is going on the bus at the time and use that to build a track out of. And even if it doesn't turn into something, it's a neat resourceful exercise of just using where you are and the environment you're in to create. And when you're in your car, it's really just you and your thoughts and nothing else. Like I would never try to write a song in my car because I'd kill somebody.
Two things. While I was taking the bus here, it was warm, and it was like kind of hot on the bus, which is not everyone will know that rides a bus. That sometimes the bus is frigid, which I like, but I'm sure a lot of people think it's too cold. But I was like, you know what? I'd still rather be on a hot bus than in a car because I can read.
Yeah,
as I'm going, and you can't read when you're in a car, although people do try.
How about a quick lightning round? What are y'all reading right now?
I'm reading My Life as an Architect and Soul by Byung-Cho.
Last week, my parents and I went to visit the 4 new A-Line extension stations, and on when we got off at the San Dimas station, the tour that we were on took us to the train museum that's in San Dimas, and they were giving away free books, so I picked up a book on scenic train routes across the U.S., so I'm going to read that as I go to different places.
Ooh, Rogelio?
I'm challenging myself to read a book in Spanish called El Espacio Original, which I picked up on a recent trip to Mexico City. It's about nothing and a lot. It's really weird. It's like somebody trying to be really artsy and being like, nobody leaves anything in the world, and then they're leaving this book that is like questionable at best.
We need to hear about your Mexico City trip.
Ooh.
Another time.
Another future episode. My lightning round books. I'm currently reading 3. I'm juggling The Shining, Fahrenheit 182, which is Mark Hoppus's from Blink-182's memoir, and I'm also reading this really fun, campy sci-fi series, We Are Bob. He's a head in a jar, then he's a spaceship, then he's like a von Neumann machine. Where is this coming from? Yeah. Oh my God, it's amazing. I just finished The Expanse too before I got into that, which is like so like, you know, it's amazing, but it's really serious. And then Bob is just a romp the whole way through. So speaking of romps, the next place to jump off to.
Well, I was actually can I make 2 remarks real fast? First, as someone, I'm not a fledgling drummer, but I haven't drummed in a long time. But I was in drum line. You gotta just get like the bass. You just need to start playing like marching
Yes.
drums. Get tri-toms. That's
Yes,
your whole
former
thing.
marching band person too.
Glockenspiel.
Yeah, that'd be
They
quite
have
a bus.
harnesses for all that.
On the bus?
No, he's gonna like a parade.
Oh, I could do it on the one
You
wheel.
don't need to go on. Yeah, there
You
you
might
go.
you might
one
get
wheel,
super
just-
kind of come out and find you.
Playing the Glockenspiel on the bus. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say was just about celebrities normalizing or abnormalizing transit options. That reminded me of when Alyssa Walker was on the John Mulaney show, and she says she took the train, and he goes, wild, and it's so exaggerated. He's like, that's so dystopian. And I was like, you think being able to take a train somewhere is dystopian? You're from Chicago. Like, surely you took the train when you lived in Chicago. But it's that, but you know he did that because he thought, like, now that I live in Los Angeles, I need to drive everywhere, and that's such a status symbol, and deny the train 3 times before the cock crows because I'm not in Chicago anymore.
That's super interesting because LA is where a lot of celebrities are, and LA is just bigger geographically. But I wonder if you looked at a different big metropolitan city that wasn't the base of like Hollywood fame and whatever, if it'd be different and less of a status thing.
Yeah, maybe
I think it is.
Maybe London would be an interesting thing too, right? Because that's like heart of like UK culture, and isn't London like the same like geographical size as LA? Eric, you've
It's
mentioned that
bigger.
before.
Greater London is like 100 square miles bigger than Los Angeles, which I always point out because when people say, oh, Los Angeles is too big and spread out for transit to ever work. And it's like, no, it's not. London's bigger, and they have 3.5 times as much train network. That's why they're able to get around. And I will say, though, having been on the tube last month, they should call it the microwave because it's hot. But it's still better than driving in London.
Yeah. So,
So I just looked up where we would be at if we were to take the Pacific Electric car line here, because they have a map and said, they've been extensively included right to where the convention center is right now.
Wow.
ooh, let's talk a little bit
How are we
about
doing on
Pacific
time?
Electric.
Should we have any questions and stuff, or should we just keep going? How do you feel?
Does anybody have any burning questions you want to lob at us right now at this juncture at this station?
Do you like the theme of who framed Roger Rabbit?
I mean, well, I was watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit recently, and I love the scene early on when the detective dude is on the back of hops the back of the train with the kids, And they're like, hey man, don't you have a car? And he's like, why would I need a car? I'm in Los Angeles. We
That's
have the best public
memorable
transit in the
line.
world.
Like, who wants a car when you go anywhere for 25 cents? Or I haven't seen that movie since it was in theaters, and I still remember kind of what he said there.
Like, that was such a fun sentiment. And I loved, like, the way that world was designed, where, you know, this surly private eye detective hops on the back of a streetcar, goes to the seedy second floor dusty bar, and all the weird crap happens up there. This is maybe unrelated to the train part of it, but when I was watching this for the first time, when Jessica Rabbit is first introduced, she tells Detective Guy, I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way. And then later, when you think she shoots the guy, I was watching this and I just yelled, but Jessica, you said you were drawn that way! And I was very hurt in that moment.
Yeah.
I guess I had to learn if there was a process in which the film or show wants to be on like a train, you know, something. Do they build the set to look like it, or do they have to go to the?
That's a good question.
So
I was just gonna say, in Heat, I feel like they do a lot of stuff on trains, and they look.
So
Yeah.
I can speak to this a little bit from working in the commercial world. Hopefully NDA police don't zap me. So what will happen for a lot of commercials? Brands will block off stations. Like, I was on a commercial in Santa Monica that was filming on the E-line downtown, and they simply they booked one of the platforms. So the commercial was filming on one platform, the other one was still regular train service, and so they had like a small contingent crew out there shooting on the platform, going inside the actual train that was, I think, just parked there for the day. Also, there's a couple of lots up in Sun Valley, like Santa Clarita up that way, where you can rent an actual replica train. Most of the ones that they film in, I believe, are decommissioned Chicago L trains that are like sawed in half, cut in half, so you can film directly into the barrel of this thing. It's really, really cool. It's also sad, though, because that train is probably like that, you know, cut in half, decommissioned Chicago L train is probably the only time that anyone on that film crew has ever been inside a train. But yeah, so that's, you know, and maybe Rogelio, do you know anything about like how you book one?
Nope.
Oh, great.
Hey Siri.
So I'm the archivist at Southwest Museum. They originally filmed Shrinking. They actually did block that. Did exactly what you did for Shrinking. They blocked off one of the South Path platforms. So you notice every single shot in Shrinking is on the platform with the museum in the background. They never film, even the other direction, on the other side of the platform. So it's exactly, I can verify from experience, it's exactly what you said. One side of the platform, and the trains are magically just running in full size.
Very cool.
Yeah, Hollywood magic. I guess on the subject of Pacific Electric, another little one that I want to bring up before we cut Eric loose for his observations is the game.
Does everyone know what Pacific Electric is, by the way? I feel like
yeah.
this crowd probably does.
Yeah. So if you don't, Pacific Electric is it was the former streetcar system that ran from Los Angeles to Orange County, kind of like a combination of LA Metro and Metro Link lines. And for its time, it was the largest electric rail system in the world. We had that right here.
In combination with Los Angeles Railway, which is the yellow cars.
Larry.
Yeah, Larry. Larry, you're killing me, Larry.
I get the reference.
So, Eric, we talked about this a little bit, but the game LA Noire, which takes place in 1940s, 1950s-ish Los Angeles, where you play as a private detective who's working a traffic beat, who's working arson, and the game has like this really weird. It was photorealistic for the time, but it's super, super uncanny valley where you're trying to like read people's expressions to tell if they're lying. And I can't read people in real life. So like I was very bad at this game.
It's like deception detected.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But like when I was in high school playing through LA Noire, it was just like, oh my God, like what is this cool Fantasyland city? Like palm trees, sun, streetcars all over the place. Eric, do you have any thoughts on this game?
I did play it a bit. I mean, this is just kind of my view about video games in general, that it's fun to be sort of right-wing and insane when playing video games, more so than in real life. And like, so I would try to knock the trains off the tracks with the cars. I like to blow everything up. I don't play video games correctly. I just mostly like to like sandbox and explode stuff. But in real life, I'm not that guy. I'm not trying to knock trains off tracks or anything. I'm
Yeah.
not driving any, you know.
You're not trying to blow up the 405
No.
like I suggested from our
Yeah.
interest.
I just
okay.
want to see, like,
Okay.
what you can do within the game.
Yeah. So Eric, you had some thoughts on another LA Transit panel
Yeah.
recently that you wanted to bring up here.
Well,
let's do that.
And I'm sorry for like writing this all out, and I'll try not to like just read it, but you know, after Trump's teleprompter fiasco, I just didn't want to be caught like that. But I really quickly wrote this, so I was just like, I didn't really have time to. Sorry, but I wanted to talk a bit about a couple of science fiction films and how transit is in Los Angeles transit and science fiction. Because I think a lot of times it's sort of superficially forward thinking when you see it in sci-fi, but it inevitably, because of who makes it, a lot of times is seen through a lens of the white wealthy gaze and a tinted windshield of a luxury automobile. So then in doing, because of that, they ignore and they get wrong and they fail to capture the real multicultural, increasingly multimodal direction that our transit is going in. And then because I did make this omnibus where I was trying to find all the transit and films, which is too much. It's very me though. But I started with the very first film filmed in Los Angeles, which was in 1987. 1987. It was a little earlier than that, 1897. And it's called very straightforwardly South Spring Street, Los Angeles, California, 1897. And it was filmed. They just set a camera up on Spring Street. And it's interesting to see because even though it's practically the ancient past, it's the oldest Los Angeles film, it's depicting a street that we can only dream about because there are no cars. There are only 2 cars registered in Los Angeles in 1897. One of them was electric. But you see this scene where there are, well, I'll just read the description that's on it was built as an animated photograph. Various equipages pass, including a tally-ho and 6 white horses. A peculiar open-end trolley car comes along, bicycle riders and pedestrians. And just reading that takes almost as long as the film because it's 25 seconds in runtime, but it kind of like says it all. You're just like, yeah, that's, and they're just weaving and doing this dance, and you're like, how could we get back to that?
Yeah.
Besides just Ciclovia and open streets events like that. Which are temporary but great. But then, so then I was thinking, one of my favorite films of all time is set in the future of 2019, and that's Blade Runner, and that's in Los Angeles. And I was telling someone else about it, and he was saying, I don't really think of it as a transit film, and I was like, yeah, it is a Los Angeles film. That's usually what it's characterized, I guess, but it's a transit film too. It's a Los Angeles film, because there's the Bradbury Building and the Ennis House in it. But it was mostly filmed on a Burbank backlot. So, but as far as transit, the thing that everyone remembers are the spinners, which are basically flying cars. And then rewatching it though, I was like, there's never more than 4 spinners on the screen at once. So it's not really the dominant mode of transportation in a metropolis of multiple millions of people. And then I started looking around because I've seen it so many times, your eyes get to wander, and I was like, oh, there's an elevated train. And then there's one shot where 17 cyclists ride through at once.
Whoa.
And then I was like, and then even though it's rain-soaked, Angelinos are out in throngs on the sidewalks, like going to like noodle bars, and I was like, so a lot of people describe it, like Tom Anderson called it the official nightmare of Los Angeles. But I was like, it's actually kind of like closer to my utopia than a lot of movies. And yes, they do retire working class replicants and treat them like crap, but as a working class person, I feel treated like crap. That just feels like a lateral move. Like things haven't gotten better, except now we can work on the outworld colonies. I also thought it was interesting that the spinners don't appear in the Philip K. Dick novel, and I think that they were probably added because it is a retro-futuristic vibe. It's very neo-noir and hard-boiled detective, and those were genres that were thriving in the 40s and 30s. And then I looked up when flying cars were most prevalent in sci-fi art and comics and stuff, and it was the 40s and 30s. So it's kind of like a throwback idea to that, but then at the same time, it really gets all these other transit things right. But then I think the fact that we think so much about the spinners is it's I don't know, it's just it's like the fact that we're focused on that, on like flying Ubers is what we talk about in the media instead of like noodle stalls everywhere. It just shows that we're like focused on the wrong thing still, and that electric sheep dream of androids. Another thing that that people talk about a lot with it is it's how Japanese it is, and the Japanese aesthetics and Japanese, and I think like the transit thing, that sort of reflects our fixations more than it reflects the reality of the film, because in the 80s, as one of the people here that was alive in the 80s, before Japan was cool and ninjas and anime and stuff, people were scared of Japan, and they were envious of Japan and scared of it at the same time, because they were like, oh my God, they're from the future, they're doing everything so futuristic. So a few Japanese things in a movie, it's like, oh, it's scary, but it's also exciting. But then when you actually watch it, there's only two Japanese people in the film. One plays a Cambodian, and the other one plays a sushi chef, and they're not big characters. But it is sort of multicultural by Hollywood's impossibly low standards, because you do get a Korean American actress playing the geisha on the advertisement, and Edward James Olmos is Mexican American. He speaks city speak, which is a mix of Spanish and Japanese, obviously, but then also French, German, and Hungarian, which I think is funny because none of those are exactly like lingua franca in Los Angeles, and that if we really have something like City Speak, I was thinking it's going to be more based on Mandarin, Tagalog, Armenian, and Korean. But you wouldn't know that if you don't take the bus, perhaps.
Yeah. So we got probably about like five-ish minutes, 5 and change minutes left.
I'll try to be fast. So I'll just say the other film that I was thinking about, which is in a way kind of an interesting bookend, because the way that Blade Runner is sort of a documentary, the more time passes, about 80s anxieties and envy, and of the late 20th century. Her is that for the early 21st century, and for that they filmed it in the Pudong district of Shanghai for 2 weeks, because they were like, we can't find anywhere sufficiently futuristic in Los Angeles with transit, but a lot of it's on elevated pedways, which were built by the Communist Party in 1990 to try to develop it, and then a lot of the talk about it at the time was about it's about a dork who's in love with AI, but a lot of the transit talk, especially locally, was about, oh my God, there's this extended rail map, and he takes the train to the city or to the beach, and how exciting is that? And then at the time I was like, well, you can take the transit to the beach. You can actually have taken transit to the beach for the last 139 years.
It's the bus.
It's called a bus. It's Torrance Transit, Bay Cities Transit. And at the same time, you could take a train to the beach too. The A line went to Long Beach. That was the first metro line, and your clue that there's a beach in Long Beach is right in the name.
Wow. I had no idea.
But people that are working class know that when white writers write about how great public transit to the beach would be, that they mean trains, and that they mean white beaches on the South Bay and the West Side, not the working class harbor district. So I guess to kind of wrap it up, I was just going to say that does it really matter, if wealthy white car brains are the only ones behind the wheel of our collective imagination, because they're just films, they're just entertainment. But if you're a sci-fi fan, you've seen how sci-fi impacts the real world and how the solutions that we focus on. And if we focus exclusively on wealthy white car brains transit solutions, all the talk is about Tesla tubes and aerial trams and DoorDash drones, instead of things that we actually want and need that are simple and sustainable, like street trees and bus lanes. And if people of color only exist in your blind spot, you get transit in LA panels where all the panelists are white and most of them drove. So, this is a city with the largest population outside of their home countries of Armenians, Belizeans, Guatemalans, Mexicans, Salvadorans, Filipinos, Cambodians, Vietnamese, Taiwanese, Thai. It shouldn't be that hard to find people that have voices other than yours and don't look like you, because if everyone looks and sounds like you, you're in a bubble, and you're definitely not on the bus.
Yeah. So how about, we got about 4 minutes left, so any more questions to throw at us? Okay.
Not really a question, but we've been talking about looking down on public transportation. I don't drive. I've never driven. I'm one of but I have noticed, at least what I feel like, is the start of the subtle shift is that, before people would be like, what's wrong with you? You have to say you broke the law, whatever.
Yeah, did you have a DUI, or you, exactly?
I like traveling in the area where there's.
Uh-huh.
But I feel maybe like the last 10 years or so, people start now going, oh, that's so green of you.
Mm-hmm. No, I know totally. We've talked about that before. It's like I'm proud for you. I love that for you.
But I do feel like there's at least an acceptance that sort of. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I already asked. There's more possibly pop culture, but I think the secret that I'm looking for. When I first came out of Brightwell, I was introduced to this exhibit at the Union Station called the A Train, and then you talk into this.
Yes.
And it changes another thing across the escalator. But I've not been able to get that thing to work. And I'm like, maybe someone here, you have to say, hey, A Train, play something.
When you say hey, was it like a jack or hey? I don't know. But it's like old pal or something.
Rebecca Castillo made a video about it for LA Times 404. So if you want to see the instructions of how to do it, look at her video. Because, it's something, you see the faces going past, but you have to kind of like screw up your eyes to see it.
Don't focus.
Don't focus is the key. And then you have to say it in a certain way. Yeah.
Wonderful person. He was an employee there. I landed. He's like, can I help you drive somewhere? I said, no, I'm just. Oh, let me show you something.
Yeah. So we got 2 minutes. What's your question?
I feel you on the being the other person that doesn't drive. I don't have a driver's license. It actually sucks because I've been applying for transit kind of positions, and it's amazing. A lot of cities, even in Southern California, I guess a lot of California requires a driver's license for a transit kind of position.
Ironic.
And, I
Apply anyways. Apply anyways.
Thank you for the hope. Did you find the movie Volcano to be nice propaganda for Eddie Waxman's anti-tunneling measures?
I kind of love Volcano. It's like the smart version of Crash. And it's pretty dumb, but but I think it kind of knows it. But I will say that before I moved out here, all that stuff like the explosion at the Ross was linked in my mind with the tunneling of the subway for years, and then I was like, wait, those two things didn't have anything to do with each other? So, I think the fear of exploding subways in Beverly Hills probably is partly from that or in the myth that comes from. But at the same time, I always point out that they have an oil well in the outfield of the Beverly Hills High School. They're not they don't care about health concerns and the environment. Come on. Oh. They did paint flowers on the oil well, though, so it's green.
Makes it better for the kids.
So
it's safe to breathe now.
Okay, we're at time, so let's do a quick lightning round up and down the panel. Anything you'd like to plug on your way out, where we can find you, and whatever you want to throw at people. Rogelio, do you want to start?
No plugs, but feel free to ask me questions after.
Cool. Ivy?
Likewise, no plug, but Instagram is IYKWYK. If you know, you know.
Kyle will tag us.
Yeah.
I'll tag him.
I will plug real quickly we're going to have a meetup after the October Ciclavia at Highland Park Brewery and probably Homage Brewing, and just maybe walk around the Dogtown neighborhood next to Chinatown a little bit. After Ciclavia ends, we're just planning on meeting there. And then we're doing, I think the 18th or 19th, we can check the date. We're doing a Tube Noob group ride on the E-line for some friends who've never taken the train ever, even once. And then I thought we should open this up to other people that have never taken the train but are curious, and we'll hop on and off. And you can find them both on Eventbrite if you want to find more information, or on our Instagram.
Yeah. So our Instagram is at Nobody Drives in LA Pod. That's probably the best place to find us and our stuff. My Instagram is at Kyle Rebar. And thanks y'all for coming. And we'll see you on the Metro.